During my isolation time, I tried to maintain by myself, but I couldn't. I could see my hair growing on my face because they never give me a razor. My skin was losing its pigmentation because I didn't feel the sun. And then one day I woke up and the voices in my head were so strong. And the voices was telling me, Kyle, you was on 6-time state champ. You was golfing in Tiger Woods. You was ranked 4th in the world. And look where you stay. In a 7x7 cell, losing your mind. Ram me hitting the wall, Kyle. Ram me hit into the wall. This is a special day. Yeah. I backed up as far as I could against my cell door, and I was ready for lunge forward 3 steps and bust my head into the wall. Because that seemed like a good idea at the time. But something was holding me back against my wall. And then I remember as a child, I saw this show of one guy. He was on his knees and he was praying to this guy named God. He needed help. Those images started flashing through my head as I stayed pinned against my wall. So all I did was copy what I saw. So I went down in my knees in my 7x7 windowless cell and I said, God, my name is Kyle, bro. And I saw what I did to all those people.
You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives. And here is your host, Damon Frank.
Welcome back to the Recovered Life Show. I am joined today by Kyle Quilausing. He's a motivational speaker and recovery advocate that helps kids. How you doing today, Kyle?
Good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much, David, for having me.
Oh, I am so thrilled about having you on the show. 6 months ago, I saw a YouTube video about your story, which you're going to tell us here. I don't want to blow it because I can't tell it as well as you can. But it is an amazing story about rebuilding your life, addiction, service. It's just, it's absolutely amazing. And I wanted to have you on the show to talk about really, being of service in recovery, right? Being sober, being of service. But first, I'd like you to tell people kind of your overview story here about how you got into recovery and a little bit of the backstory.
Okay. Aloha, everyone. My name is Kyle. I was born in Hilo, Hawaii, and my upbringing was very amazing. I was raised by my grandfather, who was also the chief of police, who instilled in me wholesome values and strong morals and ethics. My grandfather introduced me to the game of golf, which I quickly fell in love with, and I dedicated every waking moment to perfecting my craft and becoming a 6-time state champ. And I was ranked 4th in the world, and I played alongside Tiger Woods as a junior golfer. But after allowing all the success, I became arrogant and prideful, and I was expelled in high school, my senior year of high school, which became the catalyst for my downhill spiral that eventually led me to become a 98-pound crystal meth addict who was labeled Hawaii's most wanted and a menace to society.
Kyle, I saw pictures, and anyone, we're going to tell you how to access this YouTube channel so you can see them. You really were one of Hawaii's most wanted, weren't you?
Yes.
That's not just a statement. You actually, the mugshot, the whole thing, you were quite notorious in Hawaii.
Yes.
But before you were notorious as an addict, really you were notorious as a golfer. And you're not kidding that you were like, you're really understating it. You were, and I'm sure am now, an amazing golfer, and we're one of the best junior golfers out there.
Yes, every year in Hawaii, I won the state tournament every year, which allowed me to go to the California Junior World Championships, where I saw Eldrick Tiger Woods, and I represented Hawaii for 6 years in a row, and I ranked 4th in the world, and I had a very bright future.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you and Tiger Woods. You both had huge trophies. They're almost as big as you were. I don't know how tall you were, but it was absolutely huge. So what happened? Like, you talk about being in high school, how arrogance kind of came up. And did one day you just get sucked into this, or was this just more of a slow thing and then you ended up addicted?
I think I got sucked into it. So in high school, I was an honor roll student because in order to be a professional, I must be smart in school. I must be strong, physically strong. And my senior year, every time I'll check my mailbox, it would have numerous scholarship offers from colleges all over the nation. And every time I'd open up my mailbox and I would look at all these envelopes, my head got big with pride and ego. And I let that get the best out of me. And like I said, I was a good honor roll student, and I was walking around campus like I was a different person, like I was untouchable and you cannot tell me what to do. And one day in high school, my senior year, 6 months to graduation, I already decided on a college that I wanted to go to. But when teacher told me what to do, I'm right in his face, and I said, "Bro, don't tell me what to do. You just one teacher. I'm gonna be a millionaire, bro. Don't tell me what to do." He was, "Kyle, you better yourself, bro. You never graduated yet." Long story short, I made a bad choice in high school, and I got kicked out because of my behavior, what I did. Which, yeah. So before, when I was golfing, everybody believed in me. So when I got kicked out of school, the world traveled fast in Hawaii. So wherever I went in Hawaii, the supermarket, to the beach, people would look at me and they'd tell me, "Oh, Kyle, I heard that happened to you. You missed your ride, yeah? You so stupid, bro. You so stupid, bro." Wherever I went, the whole state was telling me this. So at 18 years old, I packed up my bags and I left to Alaska, thinking that was my answer. I just had to leave Hawaii and leave all that feedback that I was getting from everybody.
Did you have, were drugs a thing then? Did
No,
you already, so you
No.
just, it was literally just arrogance. You just thought, well,
Yeah.
I've got this.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You made a couple of bad choices and then, your whole life changes.
Yep. So I left.
So you're
Right.
on your way to Alaska.
Yep.
Alaska has got to be, Kyle,
Opposite
the most
from Hawaii.
opposite of
Yep.
Hawaii.
And
Why
at
did you pick Alaska?
At 18 years old, I thought Alaska was my answer because that's totally opposite from Hawaii and it's the farthest place I knew of. So when I went there, long story short, I was in Alaska for 5 years. I had 3 beautiful kids. One day I woke up and I said, I'm going home. I'm going home back to Hawaii. So I took my kids, I went back to Hawaii. And when my plane landed in Hawaii, I landed right in the crystal epidemic. And no matter where I went, I saw crystal meth, and all my friends, childhood friends, those are all addicts. And it was just a matter of time before that pipe went into my mouth. And before the pipe went into my mouth, I still good. I still don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarette, nothing. And when I go to the schools today, I tell the kids, you only can say no so much. So I did it. I did the crystal meth. And when I blew out the crystal meth smoke, I blew out everything that was instilled in me as a child. All my love, all my morals, all my respect, all my etiquette was gone. And I instantly became an addict. And I did what was necessary to fuel my addiction. And I terrorized my home, which was Hawaii. And I got labeled many things, Hawaii's most wanted. So now I'm on the news again, but not for golf. I'm on the news. So if you see Kyle Quilausing, call 911. Please don't try to apprehend him, and armed and dangerous, and just chaos.
What was going through your mind, Kyle? Like, because you probably had the best intentions, even though you had made some bad decisions in high school, you really kind of got it together, had a family. You're now living in the most beautiful place in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Hawaii. And did you just think that you could really smoke crystal meth and that everything would be fine?
Yep. I just wanted to go with them because everybody was doing it on peer pressure.
And then how quickly did that spiral out of control?
Quickly. As soon as I blew it out, I was addicted, and I became on, and I did what was necessary to fuel my addiction. And I did so much bad things. And we live on an island. So it was just a matter of time. It was 4 years. They tried to catch me. After 5 high-speed chases later, 4 years, I finally got caught. And when they caught me, this is my mugshot, yeah? I was 24 years old, 98 pounds, full-blown crystal meth addict, Hawaii's most wanted. And when the police department caught me, they put me in the local newspaper, right in the front page, and they put the big catch, captured. So the police was happy. They had a party. The whole community of Hawaii was happy. They was relieved that I was gone. But that relief never lasted too long, because 3 months later, I escaped. I planned one of the biggest escapes. And I tied bed sheets, and I climbed up on light, and I broke a window on the ceiling, and I jumped off the roof. And
wow. And that was in Hawaii?
Yeah.
You were in Hawaii when that happened? Do you feel that was the drugs kind of fueling that, of trying to get back to the drugs?
I was physically strong already, but it's just the taste of the crystal meth was in my mouth and was strong. And
that is crazy. So
yeah,
so literally now you're a fugitive again. You
yep,
break out of jail. How long
yep.
how long were you able to get away with that?
Like I said, I live in an island. So where I gonna run? Take me 2 hours for go that side and 2 hours back. So it's 12 days, 3 high-speed chases later, they caught me again. And this time they made sure that I wouldn't escape. So this is my first time getting in trouble. I never did get in trouble my whole life. So now they put me in an isolation cell in a 7x7 cell, no windows, by myself. For 3 years, I live in that cell. I never see one human for 3 years. I never hear one human for 3 years. I never see outside for 3 years. I ate in my cell. They brought me my food through a little trap door that opens. I took a bath in my sink for 3 years, bro. And Damon, I don't care who you are. You spend that much time in isolation, things will start taking a toll on your mind, bro.
I don't know how you obviously you had a lot of time to reflect. Did you think it was the drugs then?
The drugs.
Did you think that the reason that you were in there were because of the drugs, or did you think you did? Okay, so you knew. You didn't have any delusion that it wasn't the drugs.
No.
Yeah.
Crystal Met had me and had no intentions of letting me go, bro.
So 3 years.
3 years.
And what obviously it takes a toll on you, but what kind of toll does it take? I mean, not really having human contact with anyone. Mm-hmm. Really, you had untreated alcoholism, right? And drug addiction. I'm assuming that they didn't give you any kind of treatment or anything. You're just locked up with yourself.
By myself. And I look back and God is good. God is good. One thing wasn't instilled in me as a child was God. Everything else that was good was instilled except God for some apparent reason. And during my isolation time, I tried to maintain by myself, but I couldn't. I could see my hair growing on my face because they never give me a razor. My skin was losing its pigmentation because I didn't feel the sun. And then one day I woke up and the voices in my head were so strong. And the voices was telling me, Kyle, you was on 6-time state champ. You was golfing in Tiger Woods. You was ranked 4th in the world. And look where you stay. In a 7x7 cell, losing your mind. Ram your head in the wall, Kyle. Ram your head into the wall. This is a special day. Yeah. I backed up as far as I could against my cell door, and I was ready for lunge forward 3 steps and bust my head into the wall because that seemed like a good idea at the time. But something was holding me back against my wall. And then I remember as a child, I saw this show of one guy. He was on his knees and he was praying to this guy named God because he needed help. Those images started flashing through my head as I stayed pinned against my wall. So all I did was copy what I saw. So I went down in my knees in my 7x7 windowless cell and I said, God, my name is Kyle, bro. And I sorry for what I did to all those people. If you out there, Father God, help me. I need help. I need help. Please help me, cause. And boom, I felt them. I felt something right in my soul, right in my body. The whole body just got warm inside. And that's the day I surrendered and I gave my life to God. The voices of smashing my head was gone. And 3 years and 2 weeks that my cell door finally opened. And I seen 2 human beings looking at me. And they was looking at me, I was looking at them. Mine, I 3 years now. And they're looking at me and they say, Kyle, you all right? I said, I think so. I think all right. He said, come on, man, let's go. I said, oh, where we going? He said, you don't know where we're going? I said, no. This is your first time in prison? I said, it's my first time in prison. This is your first time in prison? You did 3 years in isolation. Oh, bro, how you did that? I was, I don't know. So they took me to this place called high custody prison. If you see the news, see people kill people, they are labeled high risk because they're not going to see the light of day. So they're high risk inmates. People that gang leaders is high risk inmates because they get plenty influence on inmates. So they lock them up in high custody with the lifers. They put me, Kyle Quilausing, never get in trouble in my life, golf with Tiger Woods, boom, 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 in high risk because I made one of the biggest escapes here in Hawaii. High risk.
So it had already kind of changed. You had already, as a person, though, kind of realized what had happened, and we're already kind of on the path to recovery, even though it might not have been formal, right?
Right.
You're doing that, but obviously you still have to do your time in prison,
right?
And you're there, and and I think what a lot of people would wonder is, when you've changed spiritually, but yet you're in a situation with people that are completely the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
Bruh.
How do you do that?
That's a good question. You know, more times I got into physical altercations because what I believe in, and I'm among bad people, bro. People that kill people, and people used to tell me all kind of things like, "Oh, why not go put water in your cell and walk on water like your friend Jesus," and that kind of things. And they would mob me and fight me, and I just stayed focused on the right. I remember why I surrender, and I pray. You see my shirt? It says "Stay humble, pray" on top. And in the high prison custody, played a big part of my story because people get killed and raped on a daily basis in prison. And in prison, that's normal. But not for me. That's not normal for me. I don't care how many times I see them. I was always an uncomfortable sight, bro. So every time I'll see something like that going on, 6 guys raping 1 guy, and everybody's not even paying attention, I would excuse myself. I'd go to my cell. I'll close my door. I'll take a big breath. And I'll tell myself, stay humble, bro. You get 6 years left. This is temporary. This is not your home. Remember that, Kyle. And I pray, Father God, help me through this. Thank you for this beautiful day. Help me. Stay humble prayer. That's the first time I ever did stay humble prayer. We're watching a movie. A guy gets stabbed in the neck, blood shooting. Guys, just move on aside. That's it. Not me. I go to my cell. I close my door. Take a big breath. Stay humble, Kyle. 6 years left. 5 years left. 4 years left. This is not your home. Remember that. Go on my knees. Father God, thank you for another beautiful day, for the breath of life. Please guide me and protect me. Stay humble prayer. Stay humble prayer. Stay humble prayer.
So
that was my
in
mantra.
Prison, you're even, you're even finding ways from your story to be of service in prison, which kind of sets you up for what happens when you get out of prison, which is amazing story. But you even found, even in the worst possible situation, ways in which that you could be of service, basically in hell.
Right. And I prayed a lot in prison, and most prayers that I say to God and ask of God is, when I am free from here, Father God, use me in any way that you need me to show your love, your mercy, your forgiveness, and your grace. Use me, Father God. Protect me as of right now. Protect me when I'm free, but use me, Father God. So now I did my whole 10 years in prison, and I safe. I lost all my front teeth. This is all fake. And I survived 3 years in isolation and 7 years in high custody prison. And now I'm free. I've been free for 7 years now. Thank you, Jesus. Free from just 17, free from prison for 7. And now I'm a motivational speaker here in Hawaii. And I spoke to 95% of the schools here in Hawaii. I did every school on the island of Kauai, island of Maui, Oahu, Lanai, and Molokai. And I did all these schools for free. That's how I gave back to the community that I once destroyed.
That is the amazing part of your story, is that, I think when people are in the thick of it, especially with addiction, and it might not be that bad, right? Somebody might be listening to this and saying, they might be a soccer mom and realize that they drank too much and they've never really had any legal or big consequences for their drinking, right? Or using, and they decided to get sober, and they realize that service is a part of long-term sobriety. It is the key, right? To long-term sobriety. And everybody has to be a service in their own way. What was great about your story, and you went through in your videos, is the transition back into the community in Hawaii, and about how you had a very clear focus. And I would think a lot of people who are gone for 10 years, and then even before that, you had many years of addiction, running from the law and doing things, that when you come back, you're thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do with my life? But you really said, how can I serve other people so they don't end up, specifically kids, end up in this situation? And that's what, the whole story of you, how hard it was actually for you to do that. It wasn't an easy transition.
It wasn't. And everything that happened to me in prison, getting beat up, losing all my teeth, and things that I went through only build passion in me. Every bad thing with passion in me built passion. And every time I go to one school, I see me in there. I see one super good kid, bro, looking at me like how I was, one super good kid. And I don't like anybody go where I went with my addiction and in my incarceration. So when I came out of prison, I came out with a focused mind, a grateful heart, and a soul that is filled with passion. And this passion now in me has no boundaries or limitations. And I have dedicated myself to help as many kids as I can and educate them about the power of their choices, bro. And to remind them that you're one choice away, bro, from a different life. And, you know, when I left Hawaii to prison, I left on bad taste in people's mouths in my home, which is Hawaii. So coming back 10 years later, nobody knew what I went through and the change and the transformation that I went through in prison. Nobody know. So when people saw me come back, they just picked up where they left off. And people's perceptions and opinions about me wasn't good, bro. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. But they wasn't afraid to show how they felt, bro, to me. Yeah.
How do you deal with that, Kyle? Because I'm sure there's people that are listening to this right now and they've made mistakes, right? And they've made mistakes and now they're not the same person. And this is the thing with addiction, is that sometimes addiction takes you to a place where you would never really go independently, right? But through having a spiritual awakening, you've recovered and you're no longer this person. How do you deal with that? What advice would you give to people who are listening to this that are struggling with that? They are new people, but they're having a hard time really kind of having the people around them that knew them feel comfortable with them.
I know it might be hard for some people out there, but try your best not to let somebody's opinions and perceptions about you affect you. Because if I let their perceptions about me affect me, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. I would have got caught up in the mix again. But I kept my eyes on a prize, which was the kids, bro, from prison, asking God to use me when I get out to change the lives of millions of kids. I kept that in my sights, And if I veer off this way and confront negativity with negativity, I'm not going to go in this path. So I got to stay straight and I got to stay focused on what matter, the things that really matter, which is these kids. And
it's so interesting about your story, because in one of the videos you talk about having times where you would run into people that you had problems with, and they're still living that life and you're not, and how just grace, you were able to kind of just mysteriously get out of that. But what I love about your story is no matter what is thrown at you, Kyle, you have this dogged persistence to be of service to kids. No matter what, I mean, literally they could put bulldozers in front of you. You will find a way to get around them to be of service. And you know, it's amazing. I mean, anyone who knows anything about you, it's absolutely amazing. What would you tell people who have recovered, but really aren't into service? They're not doing any kind of service. Okay. What's the difference in your recovery if you do service?
I got blessed with sobriety. And I could walk out of my house right now and I'll see the same people that I did my addiction with. And I see them on the streets doing the same thing what I did. And God blessed me with sobriety. And I'm not going to sit at home on my couch and do nothing about that and just sit down and say, I'm sober. No way. I'm going to get up and I'm going to share the good news, bro, of hope. And remember people's perceptions I was telling you was bad in the beginning, but I stayed focused on my course, and people follow me now and they see me doing good, bro. So I kind of improved myself here in Hawaii. And the people whose perceptions was bad about me, plenty police officers from back in the day had personal vendettas against me. And now that I motivational speak and helping kids, I get not confronted. I get approached on a daily basis. I may be at the supermarket, at the beach, and people would come up to me, adults, and say, you know, Kyle, I never liked you, in the beginning when you came out of prison. But I see what you're doing now. And if you can get better, Kyle, I know my son can get better because my son is an addict now. He was exactly where he was. And just by seeing you doing good, I get hope that my son can do good. And just hope, bro. Hope for people that my faith is through the roof, bro. If God can turn a 98-pound crystal meth addict, Hawaii's most wanted, into a motivational speaker and helping thousands and thousands of kids, God can do anything, bro. That's why one thing I always tell myself is no sweat the small stuff. I hear so much people grumbling about little things, bro. And sometimes it bothers me, like, oh, I don't know Wi-Fi, or this guy not like follow me back, and this and this. And sometimes it's so overwhelming. I say, oh, hi, my name is Kyle. I can talk to you real quick. Then I share my story. And whatever issue they had dealing with before I share with them is gone. And I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. Life is too short and too precious to sweat the small stuff, bro. And my faith is through the roof. So when things come my way that is not good, I already know that God going to see me through them, bro. I look at every negative thing as a storm. Storms in life, it's inevitable. It's part of life. Even the storms within ourselves. So when storms hit me, I remember my value, my self-worth. And I endure because I know the sun going to shine once again, because no storm lasts forever in life or in ourselves, bro. But get some people out, they feel the storm. They feel like the storm going to last forever. That's when they sink into a deep hole, bro. Yeah? And that's I come in. They reach out to me and I explain to them, you know, the feeling you feel is temporary, bro. Just like when storm going to subside. And if I got to stay here with you and talk to you and help you through the situation, I'm right here with you, bro.
You know, Kyle, I know probably when you were younger, you felt that God had a plan for you, that you would be a world famous golfer and, you know, traveling the world, doing all this other stuff, and making an impact. But, you know, really, when I see you now, although it's unfortunate that you had to go through so many painful things, what you've been able to turn this into to the benefit of other people, I think you really are living your best recovered life. In many ways, your life is much bigger than if you would have gone down that other path.
Mm-hmm. I think about what ifs, and you know, much times I ask myself that, but I look back on my life and I'm grateful with God get me right now in my life. And plenty kids, they do interviews on me for school activities. And I get asked a lot of questions by kids because like I said, I speak to a lot of schools. And one girl asked me this one question that no person had asked me in my life. In Hawaii, they call me uncle to kids, as an uncle, as an elder. She said, uncle. I said, yeah. If you could rewind time to the crystal meth pipe came to your hand, what would you do different? Oh, I look at her. I said, that's a good question. To tell you the truth, I'll do the same thing. And she looked at me with a confused look on her face. I said, I smoked crystal meth. I went to prison for 10 years. I did this, but look what that did for thousands and thousands of kids, bro. You know how much kids I speak to in Hawaii, and they keep me accountable, these kids. I couldn't be bad if I wanted to. You could come to Hawaii. We could go to any island we like. The kids just gonna gravitate.
Yeah, you have every teenager on the island looking at you, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't be bad if I wanted to. And they would come up to me and they'll say, uncle, you came to my school. And because of what you said, I'm going to do the right thing because I don't like go to prison. And this is one thing that I tell the kids. I tell them this at the assemblies. I say, we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And if you guys like jeopardize where we live for a 10 by 10 cell with a guy named Big Bill, you out of your mind, bro. You better think. Then I see the wheels, bro, just turning in the head, bro. Boom, got him. Next. Got him. And like I said, I did all these schools for free. People thought I was crazy. I would leave. I'm from the big island of Kauai. They call me, Kyle, can you do one whole island tour? Gonna take me 1 month. Yeah, I gotta leave my family. And I gotta get the money, that little bit money that I get in my pocket. But like I said, my faith is through the roof. And I follow my heart all the time. And I go and I leave my family behind, and I go and with the intent to help these kids, bro, without no expectations back, bro. That's how I give back to the state that I ruined and devastated because of my addiction. If I can stop one person from what I was doing, that's how I get paid, bro. And
Kyle, if you had one final thing to say to somebody who's sitting and maybe watching this, that's struggling. Maybe they're recovered, you know, they're no longer using drugs and alcohol, but their life isn't what they think it should be. If you could say one thing about service, what would you say?
I would say, humble yourself so you can be of service, so you can be of use. There's no such thing as a prideful servant. Humility allows you to be of service. Humble yourself so you can be of service. And every day I fight for my humility. Every day I ask God and pray to keep me humble, bro, so I can continue to do what I do with these kids. Because once I get arrogant, that's what happened to me in the beginning of my life. My arrogance took me down fast. So no matter what happened in your life, good, bad, you stay humble, bro. And you pray. If you don't believe in God, you do something that you love on outside, outdoors, and activities. And another thing I like to say is, I believe that there's two types of learning. You learn something for the first time, like a child learning how to walk, and there's learning from your mistakes, bro. Like me, I learned from my mistakes. I learned, I made changes, and I try again, bro. Failure gave me many opportunities to better myself. So when you see failure, or embrace failure when you try something and you fail, and just find ways for be better and stay humble and no sweat the small stuff. That'll be my advice. No sweat the small stuff, because things could be worse.
Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the Recovered Life Show. Where can they find out more about you and your work?
You can go to Stay Humble Prayer on Instagram. One word, Stay Humble Prayer. I'm also now on Clubhouse. Stay Humble Prayer. Everything is Stay Humble Prayer. On any social platform, you type in Stay Humble Prayer, YouTube, Stay Humble Prayer, you can find me. And don't hesitate to reach out.
Kyle, thanks so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you so much, Dave, for having me.
Keep the conversation going. Join Recovered Life, a community of like-minded people who are looking to live their best recovered lives. Membership is free, and you can apply at recoveredlife.us.